Today we're going to have Chief Rob Davis. He's going to introduce himself and welcome you to the police service. He started his policing career over 40 years ago. As of March the 30th, he's going to be retiring. He's been a fantastic leader for us in our organization. And one need only to look when I took over the media role. I remember one of the funny things is I came to the meeting with Dave was hosting, I think in Ottawa, and I heard about the social media stuff. At that point, we had a really old website. I came back with all these ideas, and when it came to the Facebook page, I invested, I think, 15 or 20 hours doing the business plan like we're supposed to do in policing, and color graphs and color photographs and everything. And I walked up and I showed it to him, and after 5 minutes he says, okay, go for it. When it comes to social media and it comes to media in general, he's not the type of chief that'll say, I'm not dealing with it. You go talk to him, he'll be out front and in front of the cameras. He's very supportive of our role, collective role in this room, and he's a bit of an innovator, and unfortunately we're going to lose him, but I'm sure we'll be able to see him in 12 because he's got his grandkids and everything. Chief.
Thanks very much, Doug, for the introduction. I don't talk near as fast as Doug, so you're the issue about being an innovator, I think with respect to social media, it's more like I recognize that it's out there, and I recognize there are people that are much more qualified in it than I am. And you put your faith in those people that have the qualifications and the contacts and the guts to get out there and take this on and actually make something of the organization and embrace this whole new idea of social media. So that's where it comes in. It's not so much me being an innovator in this particular sense. Anyway, I really would like to commend all of you that are media relations officers, because it is not an easy task that you do. And I don't think people really appreciate the amount of time and effort and commitment that you do put into your work to be effective at what you do. Thank you all very much for coming. Terrific turnout, and I hope that the day proves to be as interesting as we anticipate it going to be. So all the best to you. Thank you, and when the course is over, please have a safe drive home. Thank you.
I've got the privilege now of introducing Detective Constable Warren Holmer. I had the privilege of seeing him at the Toronto Police Service about a year and a half ago when the CPC had a social media emergency prepared course for the police executive. From that point, my learning curve was just phenomenal, and some of the stuff that Warren gave me as background knowledge to forge the social media platform through the city of Guelph. And I did use a lot of this stuff in selling the programs to my boss back here, Harry Schnurr, and through to the chief. He's going to talk to us today with respect to the legal issues, considering and assessing risk with the police officers and their organizations using social media. I know it's going to be a very informative session for us. He's our keynote speaker, and I want to turn it over to him, and I hope you get out as much from his as I did several years ago.
Thanks, Doug. I want to thank the Chief and Doug for inviting me to Guelph to speak. As Doug said, I did a similar presentation for the CPC folks back in, I guess it was 2011 early. And I think there was a lot of issues that were identified with respect to, certainly we know the statistics and we've seen the evidence that using the social media has certainly benefited policing. But I think what we've been guilty of at times, often we try to take things that are out there and we want to conform them to policing. And I think what we need to understand is some of these things, they were not designed for policing. And so what we have to get across is, let's figure out how the tool works for us, and let's work within the tool or use the tool to its benefit rather than trying to make it conform. If we look at what Twitter says, if you read the fine print here, even in just the very first paragraph, if you choose to use Twitter, anything you put on Twitter belongs to Twitter, and they can share it with whomever they like. The Facebook example has been all over the map. Facebook changes their mind. They don't really like us. They don't always cooperate. They tell us one thing, and 2 weeks later they tell us something different. Well, now what happened was, I'm not sure if you saw this in the news, but a law enforcement officer in the United States had his police account hacked by Anonymous. I don't know if does that sound familiar? And they were able to read 35,000 of his emails since 2004. And they released them publicly, Anonymous did. And in there was correspondence between him and Facebook, and that included the Facebook law enforcement guidelines, which up until that point were completely secret. Facebook did not share them outside of law enforcement circles. So that document became compromised, and they pulled all their services, they pulled all their guides, they published everything on the website, and now everybody and his brother knows exactly what the protocol is for law enforcement, whereas before it was law enforcement sensitive only. So because of that compromise, Facebook said, you know what, we don't want this anymore, it's bad for business. We want to be open and transparent about how we deal with the police. Therefore, the whole world can see how we and what we'll give you and nothing else. Here's your terms for a page. This is what you're allowed to do to create a page. So if you're going to have an organizational page, Facebook explains exactly what you need to do, how to do it, and what it means, and what's kept, not kept, and how to manage that page. In addition, they realize that we want to improve our brand, and we want to use Facebook to do that. So they built us our own Facebook page guideline for law enforcement. And you can download this from their site, and it's a 10-page document that says how they think you should run your page on Facebook. It is a guide of how to design your page, what you need to do, and what they think was important to you, and what some of the settings and options should be for you running a police page. We want to use them to solve crime, and this is an excellent example, except that there can be some risk associated to it. And we all know what happened in Vancouver. The public hated the rioters and wanted some revenge. So what they did was they started using social media tools to rat people out, saying, that guy was at the thing, I saw that guy, or I saw that guy smash the window. So Vancouver wasn't prepared for that. They got over-inundated with social media influx, ratting people out that took part in the riots. So because of that attention it got, there was a very good private entity that decided, you know what, we want to get on board on this. Not only is it going to promote our brand, but we want to make it look like we're helping the police. So we had to come up with a term for it. So the term they come up for it was called crowdsourcing, and now that term is taken off. You'll hear that everywhere. But this is really the first evidence of it. A private photographic company who has a website. And so what they did was they had some photographs that they took and they strung them together using their own technology. So what they did was they took a total of 216 photographs, combined them into one, 12 across by 18 down. They stitched them all together using software. They enhanced the quality of that image to be 69,000 by 30,000 pixel, which is the equivalent of 2,100 megabyte file. Okay? And what you're looking at is that one image. Then they said, we want to help identify these people, because all these people were at Game 7 of Stanley Cup. So they come on with this technology called tagging, and what they did was, when I turn this on, you're going to see, and it takes a few minutes to load, you're going to see a bunch of bubbles pop up. So what they did was they released this publicly and asked the public, I want you to rat people out publicly. So what they did was all these numbers are identifying people by their Facebook account, all done by members of the public. So when I zoom in here, very high quality image. So you'll see a bubble will pop up. So what happens is when I click on this bubble, it identified that person by their Facebook account, that there he is standing in the crowd. When you click on that, it takes me to his Facebook account. What I see, I can have. The Vancouver police use this to identify people facial recognition-wise and otherwise to identify them later in smashing windows or doing other things. So facial recognition worked perfectly when you have a really high-resolution image. Okay? So you can see how clear that image is. We're taking several hundred feet away, and you can see you can zoom right in to see pimples and all kinds of other things and be identified in facial recognition in other places. So that's an example how social media was capitalized on a very mega scale here, dealing with hundreds of people identified. I hope you got something out of the presentation today. I hope I was able to raise a few issues that maybe you hadn't thought of or you did and you didn't realize the extent of it. But I thank you for your time, and please enjoy the rest of your conference.